welcome to all of the participants to Ubud Writers and Readers Festival 2023, Day 4. This main program in this venue is titled 20 Years of Ubud Writers and Readers Festival, a reflective celebration, featuring DeNeefe, Kadek Purnami, Toni Pollard, and Dwi Ermayanthi. Our moderator today will be Rosemary Milsom. Okay, before we start, I would like to have a few quick reminders for the participants, our festival friends, that we ask of you to not use flash photography, and please turn your mobile phones to silent and be respectful towards fellow audiences. And we'd love for you to share your images, thoughts, and everything in between with us on social media. So find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ubud Writers Festival, and use the hashtag UWRF23, so we can see your post. And before we begin, I would like to introduce our moderator, Rosemary Milsom. Rosemary Milsom is the founding director of the Newcastle Writers Festival, which celebrated its 10th edition in April 2022. Rosemary launched the festival after a 20-year career as an award-winning journalist in Newcastle and Sydney, primarily with Fairfax Media. She is passionate about creating stories, and she founded the festival to provide Hunter region writers a venue to showcase their work and give local audiences the chance to interact with prominent Australian authors. She thinks Australian actress Hannah Gadsby put it well in her inflammatory performance Nanette, Stories Hold Our Cure. Rosemary is aware of the particular difficulties faced by artists and fewer in rural areas, even though Newcastle is renowned for its vibrant and resourceful art scene. She is committed to helping break down barriers that contribute to their underrepresentation in cultural activity. She is passionate about working with other local arts organizations and believes that sharing ideas and resources has a direct impact on the health and vibrancy of the sector. Okay, without further ado, over to you, Rosemary.
Thank
How do these get
Thank you for that.
How do these
long-
come on? How do they come on?
Yeah,
They're
it's
on.
fine, Tony.
Check.
I'll just quickly introduce you to our wonderful panel. Obviously, this woman needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Janet is Melbourne-born, and she's the founder and director of the Ubud Food Festival, and obviously this incredible festival that we are coming to the end of this afternoon. She's lived in Bali for more than 3 decades. Her latest book is Bali, Food of My Island Home, and that followed her memoir, Fragrant Rice, and that's actually how we first connected, and I'm going to remind you about that, you may have forgotten. She's also the owner of Casa Luna, Indus, and Honeymoon Guest House and Bakery here in Ubud, and she is the reason we are all here. So welcome, Janet. I can't believe you're still standing at this point of proceedings, so it's quite incredible. Next to Janet is Kadek Purnami, who's a writer and event planner based in Bali. In 2012, she published a collection of short stories entitled...
Sorry.
A collection of short stories entitled Sabab Sinta, and in 2020 she published the audiobook of the same title. She is one of the founders of Audiobook Portal, a platform to create digital works, and has organised various arts, music, literature and cultural events on a national and international scale. Next to Kadek we have Toni Pollard. Toni has taught Indonesian in New South Wales high schools and the University of Western Sydney in Sydney for more than 35 years. Upon her retirement in 2004, she took up Indonesian literary translation, mostly for Lontar and also for the festival's annual anthologies for emerging writers. In 2018, Toni's interest in Indonesian literature led to her co-founding Indo Lit Club in Sydney. It's a monthly discussion group that focuses on bilingual texts. And are you still meeting on Zoom?
We are,
Yep.
because we have people from outside Sydney now, from Indonesia, Melbourne, Tasmania, and it's very important to keep them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Irma is the festival manager. Yes. She plays a pivotal role in the festival, overseeing all aspects, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm sure you probably just want to curl up and go to sleep. Overseeing all aspects and ensuring the successful attainment of the key objectives of the festival and also upholding the core values of the event. She has extensive experience as a project manager in the cultural and arts industries, and she brings more than a decade of expertise working in various festivals in Ubud. Welcome our panel.
Thank you.
I wanted to host this session. I came to the very first festival 20 years ago, and I wanted to host this session because I want to ask Janet the secret to the fact that she has not aged in that 20 years. I'm not joking. Now, it's been an extraordinary journey, and I remember that very first festival very clearly, and we had come in contact with each other because I was a journalist in Sydney. We published an extract from your first book, and I had to contact you because I was checking something in the manuscript. And then that started a bit of a dialogue. Then we visited Bali like my family often did. And then you said, can you help me promote the first festival? And I happily did, and I happily came. And it was a year after the Bali bombings, and I have to say, people were still very anxious. I remember having conversations with friends at home and family, and they said, "Why would you go? Why would you be crazy? It's close to the anniversary. There could be some kind of event." Sorry.
It's okay. Do you want to speak into mine?
I think we've lost it. Hold on. We're back? No? Oh, kind of. Thank you. Oh, that's better. Thank you. So there was a lot of... I think it's important to cast our mind back to the environment that Janet set this festival up in, because we've moved on. We're forward thinking. I think that's part of being humans. We tend to want to look forward and move beyond. But it was a tenuous time, I think, particularly between Australia and Bali. Can you just take us back to when... you probably can't pinpoint exactly when you thought Writers' Festival, but I'd love to know why you thought a Writers' Festival would be a path forward, an opportunity to heal.
Did I tell you I'm a grandma? Anyway.
New baby born a couple of days ago.
So, actually, the first festival was actually 2 years after the bombing.
Was it two?
Yeah, two.
Yeah, by the time we got organised, so let me go back to that time. Of course, we were thriving as a business. 2002, crazy busy, and I remember feeling a bit guilty that Casa Luna was so busy. We had people queuing up. Like I'd go to Casa Luna and I couldn't find a seat in my own restaurant, and I'd be like, damn. And after that, of course, I never thought like that again. So when the bomb happened, of course, everything changed suddenly, and we'd never experienced that before. I mean, of course, COVID now, we've sort of gone down that same track, but so I suppose... because I'm in event management, my whole world is hospitality. I mean, I run the festival with the team. I mean, it's like a big dinner party. So, and my whole thing is about looking after people and feeding them, But anyway, I just thought, okay, what can we do to help Bali survive? Because nobody else was helping, There was nobody around to support us. And we were the bad guys, to be honest. I mean... when I'd go to Australia after that, I wouldn't say I lived in Bali. I wouldn't mention the word because I made the mistake one time saying I live in Bali, and I got all sorts of attacks, So anyway, I decided we had to do something to bring people back, and it had to be an event, and it had to be meaningful. And because I was finishing up Fragrant Rice, I was in the last stages of just going over the final edits. So the plan was, I think, to publish the book, to launch the book before Christmas 2002, and then suddenly, bang, the bomb. So that had to get pushed back. There was like like a ban on... I just thought, okay, so what are we going to do? How do we survive? And how do I help the community? Because I thought Bali's been good to me for so long. Now I have to think about how to help in return. That's the principle of Indonesian life. Gotong royong, in sickness and health, whatever, suka duka, all that sort of stuff. So because I was already starting to enter that literary arena. And even because my book was about to be published, I was already being invited to other writers' festivals, actually, like Byron Bay and Hong Kong, etc. I started to think, okay, tick, 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 what can we do to help Bali survive? I thought, a writers' festival. Because the pen is mightier than the sword. That became my mantra, the pen is mightier than the sword. We have to fight terrorism. We have to fight this whole negative impact of what the bombing created. And the only way you can do that is through words, through writing. I mean, you look at all the people you've seen during the festival. They're fearless. You know, you have all these journalists who stand on the front line, you know, brave enough to stand up for what they believe in. And I thought, I want all of them in Ubud, and let's start talking about these global issues that are changing our lives and affecting all of us. We need to talk about it. So I thought, okay, let's do a writers' festival.
And the first festival, I don't know if anyone else in the room was there. I know Toni was there. It was 6 days.
6 days. Can you imagine 2 more
6
days after this?
How are you feeling this afternoon, and then add another couple of days?
I thought, never again, that's too hard. We were just like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
It was
exhausting.
There were fewer events in many, like it was a different.
Yeah,
it was a different
this was the
time.
main venue
Yeah.
right
One-
here.
One
Yeah.
venue.
Yeah, Toni,
one.
what's your memory of the first festival?
Oh, well, I've come to all 20 festivals since then, so the first one had that massive impact on me. I was invited to help interview my friend at her book launch, Fabia, who had her second book launch yesterday, and I interviewed her again in the same place at IBA. And just coming here for such a different reason from all the other visits I'd made to Indonesia since the 1960s, it blew my mind, to tell you the truth, and that's why I've kept coming back. There were some extraordinary events at the time. George Negus behaving badly, coming here telling Indonesia how to deal with Jamar Islamir after the bombing, when they had already dealt very satisfactorily with prosecuting those cases. Writing a book called The World from Islam and talking about it when he managed to forget that to write word about Indonesia as the first Islamic country of the world. It was extraordinary. Yeah. But I wanted to tell you about one event that blew my mind. There were not a lot of Indonesians at that first festival. It was quite Australia-oriented. Pak Gunawan was here and Putu Wijaya. But on the last session, in this very spot, there was an extraordinary session, and they were the Sastra Wangi, a group of 4 young Indonesian female writers who were breaking all the boundaries. They came stomping in from over there in tight black jeans, black singlet tops, clutching bottles of bintang, spike heels, plonked them down on the table and proceeded to talk about their sexy novels. And one of the hapless Balinese elderly gentlemen said, "Why do you write so much about sex?" And I think it was Jena Mayu...
Masaayu, Janata Masaayu. Yeah.
She said, "I like sex, so I like to write about it." And that brought the house down.
And I remember I was standing at the back, and there were 2, older Australian women, and one was saying to the other as they were leaving here, "Were those girls Muslim?" And the other girl was like, I think so. Janelle was sitting there smoking, drinking beer, and yeah.
Toni, what do you think the impact in the past 20 years has had on particularly emerging writers in Indonesia?
Well, massive, and we had a discussion about that in a session a few days ago, and a second one to find that there were a group of writers from the Emerging Writers Program who had emerged and are now established writers, one of whom story I translated in 2013, and he's since been invited to the Iowa Writers Program and the London Book Fair. And it made me feel very proud that had happened. And another impact that first festival had on me was a little book launch and a magazine launch, and I'd contributed a little translation to a short story in that and read it out. And at the end of it, Putu Oka Sukanta, who was last year's award-winning Lifetime Achievement Award, he came up to me and he thrust a book in my hand and he said, translate this for me, would you? And Above the Day, Below the Night, about a doctor working with sex workers on the island of Batam. And I did it rather slowly, and it was eventually published. But that began my career as a translator. So that first festival had a huge impact on my life since, both later working with the emerging writers and working with Lontar, which has been very, very important in my life.
There's John McGlynn over there.
Yeah.
Kadek, what about from your perspective, as you've been an emerging writer, can you imagine a world where the festival didn't exist? I mean, what has it enabled emerging writers to be able to do?
Hello everyone, festival lover, old friends, some of old friends, new faces. I'm Kadek Purnami. I was born in Ubud, and this festival became one of the festival that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
So what a milestone, and congratulations Ibu Janet once again for the 20 years of this year festival. And this is a new history for Ubud, a new legacy for Ubud. So this festival is giving a new or strengthen the image of Ubud as a culture destination. I was joining the festival from the beginning on 2004. So I'm helping Ibu Janet from the beginning to preparing all the festival. In 2006, I was the community development manager, which is our first program on that time is how this festival giving a platform to the emerging writers. So we try to get funding on that time, and then to bringing the emerging writers, because if you not publish the book, they usually cannot come to the festival. But we don't want this kind of stereotype. So we really, actually we're really working hard on that time to giving a place, a platform to the emerging writers to speak their mind, to inspire people. So at that time, we are in the program team. We going across the Indonesia. Until today, we already goes to like 30 cities of Indonesia. In the first time, we like introducing who we are, because so many people, what is the Ubud Writers Festival? They don't know, because as you know, in the Indonesia, there is so many group of the writers group. So we go from Sumatra until Kalimantan, introducing and open a submission. This is the first time we open the submission for the emerging writers. So there is so many writers applied, but we know we cannot afford to bring them, all of them. So we select 15 writers every year. So since 2008, that program is continuing. And then what is the impact is this program is work well. So people start sending their submission, and then we make it the book anthology. The first anthology is in 2008, and then continuing until today after the 20 years. So the UWRF is play a significant role for the new era of the writers, the emerging. So the other program, beside the emerging writers across the Indonesia, we also developed the emerging voices focusing in Bali, that we call it Bali Emerging Writers Festival. It started in 2015. That is when the emerging, maybe now they already established writers. This Bali Emerging Writers is, and the age is about like 20 until 35. And then we're giving a platform to let them to spoke up their voices, and that is from the other kind of genre. I mean, this festival is giving a huge impact for the Indonesian literature.
And they were put on a panel
Yeah.
with 3 established
writers.
Yeah.
international
Established
writers, all on some similar
You remember
theme,
from the Padang and then other part of area.
able to
So,
contribute,
yeah.
maybe with an interpreter, but many now are speaking good English.
Yeah.
Behind every good festival is a hell of a lot of work.
I mean, because Kadek was the manager.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the
I
whole
was
year.
in 2014. I was conduct as the general manager of the festival until 2020, and Irma just replaced me after
Next
that. So
next generation. Yeah.
I've been joining the festival for 18 years. And helping Janet to running all this festival. And then in 2015, that is the most incredible time, the craziest time that we have. Do you remember? We're running 3 festivals in a year.
With the controversial.
And then
talked
about the
2016.
controversy.
We don't want to discuss that.
I don't mind.
And then
It's fine.
2015, that was we creating another sibling festival that called Ubud Food Festival. So if you know,
Because you're not busy enough.
No.
You're just not busy enough.
No.
That's your
because
problem.
we love food so much, so that's why we make it. Reading and food is a perfect combination.
Yeah.
I often think, I was talking to Hannah, who is also working on the festival last night, and it's something that only festival directors will say to other festival directors because it does sound self-indulgent, but bear with me. When you run a festival, whether you're program manager, whether you're managing the volunteers, whether you're the founder and the director, you don't experience the festival like everybody else. So it's like creating an incredible dinner party, like Janet's analogy of bringing everyone together. You get little snippets of it, but you're essentially often confined to the kitchen. And everyone's out having fun. And you hear the little, oh, I saw this incredible session, and and they said this, and there was this, and it was amazing, and you're not there for it, or you get that sort of, I often think that to run a festival is an incredible gesture. It's an incredible, generous gesture to other people, most of whom you don't know. Is that, am I being sort of over the top? Is that how you can you relate to that? That it is a gift that you give to others?
Yeah, I think so. That's why we record every session so I can watch later after the festival. Because I couldn't go to any of it. And yeah, I think the point of hosting the festival is, again, Ibu Janet said, it's about hospitality. So we love to welcoming all of you. Like maybe this is the place where everyone can meet once in a year with similar idea and then similar purpose. So we are gathering here in Ubud, and I'm happy to see a familiar face every year, like coming back to the festival. I think that's the joy for me as the committee of the festival. Yeah, and then we watch the program later after.
Yeah. Or I listen to the podcasts after
Yeah.
my festival.
Yeah.
I go driving and drive to Sydney for a meeting, and I just listen back to the sessions that I didn't see. It's a kind of surreal experience, and I don't think you don't want to make a big deal out of that. You don't tell that to many people because that's you don't want sympathy. You created this entity, and you're completely happy that everyone is enjoying themselves. But it's quite a strange experience, and I think that's why there's a very collegial community of festival directors. We talk all the time, and in a way, I started Newcastle because I knew someone who had, and that was Janet. I knew someone who had done it, and I remember visiting here, and we met at Indus, and I had a chat, and I could ask her questions about, it's a very different setting, of course, but there is that sense of support because it is a very unique kind of role, and it's hard for, I think, other people to really understand it.
I'd just like to make a point. It's very rare that you, the audience, get to meet one of the people behind the scenes. And today is an occasion when you can acknowledge that contribution because you're hidden from it. And just while I'm at it, I want to make sure that you understand the amazing contribution of the interpreters at this festival. Some of you may have seen Chris here, and years ago,
He's here.
and they
Bring him out.
geniuses at what they do. Chris last year
He's
interpreting
amazing.
for the
He's
bar
You
amazing.
are
drumming
incredible.
session.
You're
That was
amazing.
that was amazing.
He was able to listen to a speech that lasted 10 minutes from a highly emotional policeman who took part in the helping the people as the victims of the bombing, and then able to reproduce that
Amazing.
entire speech with the same words, the same emotion, and the same register of language. It was incredible.
We
I'm a
all applauded him,
translator,
after that,
but-
yeah.
Thank you, interpreters.
Can we get a little bit? Can we get some juicy details? I know there's always the kind of near miss. There's someone whose plane they nearly missed the plane, or they've lost their passport on the way to the airport, or they turn up and they say, "Oh, I can't be on a panel with that person because I hate them," and you have to adapt as you go. I don't want you to sort of air dirty laundry, but have there been some very kind of precarious positions that you look back on now with, now they're in the distant past, that you've managed, because that's the thing, you have to be completely and utterly agile when you're running a festival, because these sorts of instances come up throughout the whole festival. Any care to share any anecdotes?
I suppose, apart from the 2015 dilemma...
2016?
No, 15.
2015 for the... what do you call it?
You don't want to mention that again?
No, because everybody knows that. But
50th anniversary.
the 50th anniversary...
And they were trying to shut us down.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing that rocked us, although we used it to our advantage. The other interesting thing is, being in Indonesia, we've had a lot of visa issues, and we've had actually 100% success on that one.
I was here last year, and didn't an American writer actually get stuck in the airport?
Yeah,
because they were on a temporary visa?
Yes, and in the end, actually, she went to the consulate because I thought, oh, damn, I haven't had this situation before. But we've had so many hilarious situations. We had Edgar Karet from Israel, actually. He was in the embassy in Thailand, and he was ready to go home. I said, don't you leave, just don't you leave. He was trying
to get a visa?
Trying to get a visa for Indonesia. And so I'm on the phone, so we got him in. The other hilarious one was the journalist from Syria. He was living in Paris, and he just thought, oh, yeah, I'll go to the Ubud Festival now. He had no visa, not a scrap of a visa, and landed in Denpasar. And they're like, oh, listen, mate, you've got to have a visa. Oh, no, I'm coming from Paris. I don't have a visa, And so I was on the phone to Jakarta, Denpasar at the same time. I had Lakshmi rocking in after school saying, Mum, can you make me lunch? He was waiting. They were about to send him on a plane out of Indonesia. He had 2 hours up his sleeve. I said, you do not move, you stay there. And I'm on the phone, and you can do this in Bali. I'm on the phone to the head of immigration, and he's saying, yes, but Ibu, he doesn't have a visa. I said, yeah, but he's really nice. I'm like, Bapak, kasian, I think you were there, kasian, which means I feel sorry for him. He's so nice. And he's from, Syria. And at that time, there were bombs all over the place. So don't you feel sorry for him? He's like, yeah, Ibu, I do. But, anyway, we got him in. I can't remember. There was so many, visa situations. And Beirut. The other day.
Beirut. Yeah.
So Irma said, Ibu, we have a situation with Beirut. I thought, yeah, I can imagine that. He's on a temporary passport. And I thought, I was sort of waiting for that, actually. She said, I don't know if we can get him in. I said, send me the details.
And the magic
all the paperwork, just send it all to me. Send me the details, everything. So the next minute, I said, my friend, who's the right hand of the president, Jokowi. Pak Andy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this amazing journalist in. Writer, and he's amazing, from Iran, and of course Indonesia's close relations with Iran. He said, send me the details. I said, here you go. Visa done. 2 hours later, all right.
It helps to.
So
it
if
helps.
you have any visa issue, that's right. She's an agent now.
That's right. I'm a bit expensive.
She'll sort it out.
I've got to pay for my Chanel bags, but anyway, it's okay. Yeah.
Just to stick with you, Janet, just for a minute longer, who have been among your favourite guests? Who have you really connected with, or I don't know, just had an impact on you? There's been so many over the years. Who's special to you in some way?
I can't even think. I have to say, I love Geraldine Brooks. I'm just so excited. I've met her. I had dinner with her many, many years ago, and you know what she said to me the other night? Well, last night actually. She said, "I'm reading your book right now, Fragrant Rice." I said, "You're reading my book?" She said, "Yeah, I love it." I said, "Seriously?" She said, "Yeah, you should write more." Can you imagine? She's saying that to me. I said, "Well, I was writing another book, but I just thought, who am I to write compared to people like you?" So anyway, that's special. I think in the second year, because we had Amitav Ghosh and Michael Undachi from George Negus in the first year, God bless him, that was just amazing. And until now, I'm friends with Amitav Ghosh. He's come on my Komodo trips, and I think next year he wants to do the Spice Islands with us. So I just love that kind of friendship thing. I'm buddies with Richard Flanagan, who's a major mind. I don't know, just everybody every year. I mean, there's so many that are amazing. Yeah.
It is those friendship. Well, they're not friendship. It's not how you're going to call Richard Flanagan every week and say, "How are you, Richard?" But it's that kind of connection that's there. That's what I think of it. I think of running a festival as a kind of accumulation of incredible connections with people. And it's special, isn't it? And that's the kind of reward you get for all the other visa dramas and, catering not turning up or planes delayed, and that can be the tedious side of it. But that's the joy of it, isn't it?
It's the other people like Putu Wijaya, seeing him again after knowing him for so many years, and I love him so much. And just even Putu Oko Sukanta last year, and those kind of people too. Yeah.
But it's significant that it's not just Janet that gets to meet these authors. You, I'm sure, have come shoulder to shoulder with some very famous people, and sometimes they come up and talk to you. And I was sitting at Amandari Hotel having a drink before Alexander McCall Smith was to come on, and he walked past us and came over and introduced himself to us and sat down and chatted, and it was really lovely. People like Tom Keneally and Louis de Bernier, you can get to know them. And I stood in a coffee queue once with Gareth Evans, the foreign minister under Keating, and I got chatting with him, and I said, "What brings you to the festival?" He said, "My wife's book club." So it's just a really informal festival.
I was about to say, it's the setting. It is very informal. There's no barrier.
No.
There's no barrier between the riders. They're not ushered in and out. There's no bodyguards. There's no, and you can just walk into Casa Luna, or you could be swimming in the pool or somewhere, and there's suddenly a writer that you've never met. But the interesting thing I find about being at this festival is the people you speak to who you're sitting next to too. Yeah. It's the people you're in a session together and you strike up a conversation, and there's I've become part of this sort of Australian group that come every year, and we catch up, and we don't see each other between festivals. We're sort of festival friends, and then you reconnect after a year. It's as though no time has passed, and there's just this kind of incredible connection through this event. And I wanted to ask each of you about, we can measure impact in terms of numbers of people in sessions, and how much money you spent while you're in Bali, and in Australia that's very much what people want to know, that kind of measurement. But there's often this kind of intangible measurement where someone meets someone, then that leads to something else. And I know this about my own festival, relationships have started, book deals have been done because someone met someone on a panel, and they're hard to quantify, but it's incredibly impactful in the way that those sort of interpersonal. I mean, ultimately you've fulfilled the goal. You've brought people together, and you've had this sort of impact. But I wondered, for each of you, is there some impact that you've had personally through this festival? I mean, Janet, I'll skip you because there's so much. Yeah. But I'll just go along, through the panel. A connection, a relationship, or something you've learnt about the impact that isn't numbers related.
Me?
Toni, you
well, obviously it's the translation, being invited to join the Emerging Writers Program and getting to know Kadek and Pa Jun on that program, I honed my translation craft in translating 4 or 5 stories every year for the last 15 years. And I have such a collection of them now that when we founded Indo Lit Club, I had plenty of material on hand on my computer in both languages, which has been going for 5 years, October, 5 years this month. And this little group over here is Indo Lit Club in Ubud, and we run sessions here in Ubud for the last 2 writers' festivals. And that's playing a huge part in my life at the moment, both the translation and Indo Lit Club, all due to my connection with this festival.
Emma?
I think for me personally, of course, this festival is helped me growing as a person, you know, because like you are being in a place where, especially during the festival, like pressure is everywhere, crisis is every minute, so it helps you evolve as a human, and also, you know, with this incredible people coming, it's a good place for networking. I met with a lot of great people, friends from around Indonesia and overseas. But the one that I know is the Born of Singaraja Literary Festival. It started by Sonia Piscayanti. Also, she's been with the festival since the first time. And she said to me, she creating the Singaraja Literary Festival because she met with one historian from Netherlands here in Ubud Writers, I think last year. And then they talk, and they have same mission, and then they start the Singaraja Literary Festival this year. So I think that's incredible story. Maybe there is another story that it's not yet coming to us, but that's one story that I know. Yeah.
Kadek?
From me, personally, I think, I mean, this festival so attached so much to me. So, in one day, I just thinking, I cannot divide who I am and the festival because I'm growing up with the festival, and just spend most of my time thinking of the festival. So when I wake up, I just thinking what we do, and then we have a timeline for years, and every day I just see that for 18 years. So, and then the other thing is what make me so proud and happy in this festival is we serving a stage for other people, and I'm so happy to see people on the stage and all my tiredness, all we think we can't do it, but after see all that people on the stage, all is paid off. So I'm so proud to creating a stage for peoples and serving all the egos.
You know, another thing that we did after we started the festival, we realised back then, 20 years ago, there actually weren't a lot of MCs. You know,
Yeah.
even for the opening of the festival, all that sort of thing. So we thought, okay.
We're creating a workshop for that, right?
Yeah, so we decided now, because of the festival, we need MCs, so we need to sponsor them or find a way, you know, to make this happen. So we approached the Bali International Women's Association and said, will you help us, because we need to find women on the island, because otherwise they were all coming in from Jakarta, and we thought we can't have that. There must be tons of women on the island who have those skills. So we asked them to support us if they would help us run a 1-week workshop for young Balinese women to learn how to become MCs. And we contacted Gilda and said, okay, we got support, so we paid her and said, right, downstairs at Indus, we said, if you can run a 1-week workshop, we'll pay you all the rest, and put out the word, and we got 6 or 12 young Balinese women, and by the end of that week, they were all trained, ready to be MCs. So then the next festival, we brought in all those MCs that we had trained, and now they all have MC careers. So we were really happy to create that for young women.
And also I would like to acknowledge Gustra, our program managers. He been for many years
For how many years?
we've been in the team for many years, and Claire is also here.
Oh, Claire down
Claire,
there.
you jumped to help us in 2015, Claire? Yeah,
She
2015.
was a
and
food
Ren
festival manager.
also helping us, coming every year too.
It's like it becomes you have a festival family, don't you?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And we always call that is festival family because
but
we
don't
thought them we can't to be
Can't
here
get rid
until
of them.
get a milestone of
Yeah.
20 years.
You see sometimes your festival family far more than you see your real family.
Well, that's true. too.
Yeah,
Like it's too
I said that to my family. I spend my breakfast in the office, my lunch with my team, and then sometimes we just working long time, and the dinner's still there. So I go home just for sleep, and then the next day do the same thing, and for 5 days. Can you imagine that? So that's why I said I cannot split my personal life and the festival life then.
Janet, I remember in the beginning, and I can't remember the details, but I know that I don't think there was a sort of a serious issue, but I think there was a sense that people in Ubud didn't understand what you were trying to do, the locals, that there were, what is this thing? What are people coming? And do you remember that? I remember you talking to me about that in the first couple of years, that this sort of trying to, I suppose, bridge that misunderstanding or just lack of knowledge. I mean, it had not been done before. How has the relationship, what is the relationship now between the Ubudians and the festival, and how has that evolved over the 20 years?
Yeah, I suppose when we got it off the ground, not everybody loved us. People in the community, Baranese and non-Baranese, said you can't do this and you can't call it the Ubud Writers Festival. So my husband was kind of trying to be the convener or just sort of telling people that it's a good thing. And at the time, he lost friends too. And so, and in the end, I had to just stop listening. I thought, okay, I understand there's egos involved, and okay, I know I'm not Baranese, but believe me, this is a good thing. I just thought you cannot complain, it's a good thing, and you will see. So in the end, I had to just be as stubborn as I am and just think, look, talk amongst yourselves, I've got a job to do, and then later you'll understand, because everybody benefits from this, everybody. And then later, but it took a few years, some of the business owners finally said, oh yeah, we see the benefit of when the festival's on, the restaurants are busier, all these things. So I guess with any change, people are sometimes negative, and people didn't know what it was. I remember my neighbour next to Casaluna, she said, oh yes, this water festival is very interesting. Water festival. And then the manager that we had at Indus when I was trying to set up the first Writers' Festival, so we used to have all these meetings and all this stuff, and then 2 days before the festival, he was kind of almost in tears, and he said, yes, but Ibu, I still don't know what a Writers' Festival is.
They call it Ubud Writer.
Writers. So some of them thought it was Ubud Water. So my neighbour thought Ubud Water Festival. That's so interesting. Yeah.
I think one year the community was rightfully very upset by the Writers' Festival, and that was the year that Citibank was the sponsor, and they overdid the logos and flags. Outside NECA, they had 29 banners of bright coloured circles.
We loved it.
Just at every car, and it just was all around the neighbourhood. I thought it was Visual pollution.
I loved it. And they were putting up flags from the airport all the way to
I know.
Ubud.
Yeah.
And they were putting them up like midnight. And then 1 hour later, the police were in trucks taking them down. And then another hour after that, they were putting them back up. So that was the year that Citibank sponsored the festival. So that's the most corporate logo you'll ever see. And of course, it's blue.
And our name is changed. Our name is changed, becomes Citibank Ubud.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, yes.
Because they are naming right on that time.
And then there was kind of this loose agreement that they would
Yeah.
support us for 3 years. So they sponsored us for that year. And then when we talked to them about the next year, lo and behold, they withdrew their sponsorship like in July because they murdered one of their customers.
Yes. Scandal.
They murdered one of their customers. Like,
A debt
oh,
collector. Murdered.
damn. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So this is Citibank. It just doesn't work if you murder your customers. So whoever the customer was, he called the bank and said, "Look, I need to report a corruption issue or something going on, or debt collectors, whatever. I don't know what it was." They said, "Oh yeah, thank you so much, sir. That's very kind of you. Maybe you'd like to come into the office and explain what's happening." So this guy, whoever he was, went into the office and said, "Yeah, I need to reveal these corruptors, whatever." And the debt collectors punched him around a bit, and he died. He had a heart attack and died. So it was a huge scandal, and they withdrew their rights to operate as a credit card company, or a credit card, all sorts of stuff. So for 12 months they were blacklisted, which meant they then pulled out their sponsorship in July, and that's when I happened to be visiting. I called him Joe the CEO, Indian. At that point, in most of the major banks in Jakarta, maybe still, they were all Indian CEOs. And I went into him in July, like, "Joe, Citibank have pulled their sponsorship from the festival." He's like, "What?" Because ANZ and Citibank hate each other. So I'm like, "Yeah, they've just left us, like we've just lost our major sponsor." And he's like, "How much do you need?" I'm like, I think I said 80,000. Okay. Can that be Aussie dollars or US? I said, US, of course. Are you serious? Okay, let's do it like this. So we worked out that they were going to be promoted as the knights in shining armour. They were going to come in and save us, rescue us. So that was what we pushed in all the marketing. ANZ saved us.
So everyone now knows how is Janet can get sponsored the ways. So that is the secret how she can get the sponsor. So other festival founder are here. You can copy how she get the sponsor. Then
I don't think that would even work in Australia.
No, Australia, they'd be like, "Have you got an
They'd be
appointment?"
like,
or,
Stop crying, love.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You're a bit emotional, a bit too emotional.
that is we call it Janet magic. She did the magic.
Let's bottle it. I want to take some back to Australia. We've got 10 minutes. We're going to go to questions in 1 second. I just want to finish up. There's a quote that I've always really loved. Jeremy Irons, the British actor. I remember he said once in an interview, and I often write quotes out on. I was talking to Anna Funder about this in the drive from the airport in the early hours of the morning the other day, and we have little cards, index cards, and often if we see something, you write it down so you don't forget it. And he said, we all have our time machines. Some take us back, they're called memories. Some take us forward, they're called dreams. And I'd love to hear from you, Janet, as we finish up and go to questions. What is your dream for the festival in the next 20 years?
Well, that my grandson becomes director.
I thought the other night you said you wanted him to be president of Indonesia.
That too. Yeah, that too. I don't know. Just that it keeps growing. My dream was always that it would just take over all of Ubud, like the Hay Festival, that the whole Ubud would become this amazing literary centre. But yeah, we're on the way towards it.
Will you still be director? Will you? I mean, how do you see
Probably
that?
saying, please say no. I'll probably always be there saying, have you thought about this? And, I don't know. Yeah.
I can relate as a founder. I found
Yeah.
a director. It's a difficult. I've done 10 years, not 20, and that idea of succession planning, which we're kind of doing at the moment, it's complicated.
It's kind of like when it's your baby, and you know exactly the baby. The thing is with the festival, which we all know, it has its own life. The festival drives itself as well. We're just kind of navigators, but we just sit back and it just runs, and it's Bali. It's kind of cosmic. It's got its own, Sakti and all this stuff. So, it's here to stay because it loves Ubud. Ubud's its home, and
Ubud has a magic to call people to come. So one of the reason why most of the writers would like to come because Ubud.
Yeah, betul.
Yeah.
Because the other festival also invite the same writers. They don't want to go there. But when we say, you come to Ubud, and with the
Okay.
Janet magic word, they flew. And even sometimes we not pay the
We don't pay
the
We
fee.
pay the Indonesian fees. We
Yeah.
don't pay international writers' fees, which
Yeah, that's why Ubud has
which
the
is so we're
magic.
sorry, but
And moderators like myself,
don't
more
pay
than
you.
happy. More than
don't pay
happy.
her either, yeah.
I pay my own flight. I pay to come. I mean, it's because I've had the privilege of being, on a panel interviewing extraordinary writers from around the world, and it's experience that you don't get in Australia. You don't get that international. The diversity is just extraordinary. I always come, I'm so inspired. Then I go home and I get really depressed about the state of, publishing in Australia and how white it is, and we've got a long way to go. But I do it because I relish the opportunity. It's an opportunity that is very rare, and it's very important to me, and I don't hesitate to pay my own way. I would never take money from the festival. But
because we haven't got any.
yeah, that's right. I'm not ANZ, unfortunately. But we're going to.
But we can give you a spa voucher.
Spa voucher. I love that.
voucher,
I was
restaurant
thinking
voucher.
we need to come up with a name. We need to invent a name for. I've had so many massages that I looked in the mirror this morning, and I was starting to get a kind of indent in my forehead
From having so many massages.
your forehead being on the. I thought there's got to be a name for that when you have had
We
too
can
many
workshop
massages.
that.
Does anyone have any questions? We've got a microphone just here in the front.
Thanks very much. Wonderful festival.
It's not on.
Sorry, I
Kurang.
don't think it's
Belum
working.
hidup. Nggak hidup. Hidupin ya. Hidupin.
Ini mic-nya belum hidup.
If you want to say your question, I can repeat it with the mic. Yes.
It's not a question. You hear me?
It's closer.
It's not working, sorry.
Just say it. She'll repeat it. Yeah.
Hold on. It's a reminiscence, yep. 1975, you were here, yep.
Janet came in too as well because I've read her Frank Rice and all the story about she met her husband. Fascinating. But what I was going to say, when we got
Check.
on in 2002,
No, it's okay.
When you got off in
We've got one.
2002.
Yep,
Yeah.
quick, yep.
okay, can people hear me?
Just hold it closer.
Closer to your mouth.
Can you
Close
hear
to-
me now?
Yes.
Yeah, close to your mouth. Yeah.
So David and I came to Bali in 1975, and I know Janet came then as well, and I was fascinated by Ubud and Bali, and we came back many times later. And then when the bombing occurred, we lived in Sydney at that time, and we heard about, what happened. Of course we did, and the Coogee football team and all the rest of it. It was shocking. And we got to early 2003, and David and I thought, well, I don't think many people are going to Bali. And we heard all about that. So we said, okay, we're going to Bali. And I forget which month it was, but it was early, 2003. And we went into Casa Luna. We were the only people there. And Janet came up and said, we sat down and had a chat. You may not remember, you met many people. and she said, I'm going to start a writers' festival.
I did say
And we
that.
said, wow, that's fantastic, yeah. And so 20 years later, you've done it 20 years. So congratulations. Fantastic.
Thank you.
And it just,
Over there. Oh, there.
we
Oh,
might go to the lady in the blue dress. And then we'll go to the man in the front.
it's Peter.
Thank you and congratulations. You have created a very special event like no other festival. But my question is the theme. It's chicken and an egg. Does it come first? Do the
Oh,
writers
that's interesting. Yeah.
create the theme? Where does it come from?
Where does the theme come? Actually, back in the day, I used to mainly create the theme. I didn't want to, but nobody else wanted to either. So I just thought, okay, I'll do it. Now I tell my husband to do it because he's very cosmic. So I know he's always going to come up with something kind of deeply cosmic and spiritual. And yeah, so it gives him something to think about and research. So, and you know, he's very in tune with everything. So I guess it happens
Yeah.
at the same time, though. At the start of the year, get the theme, and then we just start running with it.
Yeah.
We'll go here, and then there was a gentleman. Oh, yeah. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, indeed, it's one of the most remarkable festivals, maybe even in Indonesia.
Oh,
Yep.
it is.
On an
I'm saying the world.
It is.
on an international level. What I find very surprising to see that from the audience, 80% is probably women.
I know.
That's the same
Books,
everywhere.
women and books, right?
That's
Yeah.
the same. That's the
Not
same everywhere.
because the men are not reading, and what I find even most astounding that the themes are highly political mostly. And I can't understand that. I'm so fascinated every year to come here, and I see always the same few men, and I don't know why.
I think that's a male problem, actually.
And
It's not true. Men don't read in the numbers that women do.
And the same sorts
Women
of
read in much higher numbers. Women read fiction dramatically more than men. And this is all borne out by statistics. And also, women are greater supporters of the arts in general. They will be in the audience at a chamber orchestra. They'll be in the audience at the theatre companies. We can argue, we can discuss why that is, but that just is. It's the same in Australia. I've been to festivals in India. I've been to festivals in America. I've been to festivals in the UK. It's the same. It's just the same. It's just, you know, it's women. I don't know if it's an empathic reasons, and I don't want to get too sort of cliched with gender, but I think that there is something there about why women read fiction more than men, and we show up. We show up. We're mainly the volunteers often. Where publishing's driven by women, not at the top, they're men, but publishing is driven by women. They will be the editors, the communications people. It's a female thing.
Except for you being here. Except for, yeah.
I want just to say that you're an extraordinary person. we came here at the same time, I think it was in 1982. And what you set up in this time frame of 41 years
Is that what it is, Dan?
is just beyond imagination. You are a mother, you are a chauffeur, you are a festival creator, president,
Is it Peter Dittmar?
kindergarten,
Yeah.
hotel,
Yeah, I had a kindergarten,
restaurant, having even a husband. I can't get it.
Now grandmother.
Now
Grandmother latest, having a daughter who is the beauty queen of
Miss
Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah.
So I
All
can't get
women
it.
are
How do you
superwomen.
do that? And when I see you, you're always relaxed.
Yeah.
It's the jamel. It's the jamel. Just. We're at the end of
We
our
can go a bit
session.
longer, Dave.
You want to go longer?
What's the
All
last
right.
session of the...
There's one more question.
yeah,
over
Some
there.
more questions. We can
Yeah,
keep running, yeah.
Sorry, I apologise. Thank you. I've been to quite a few festivals now. I love the festival. I'm mostly a non-fiction reader, but this is about a fiction writer. And I apologise if I get this wrong, because I only just heard her on the radio before I came away. Melina Marchetti, looking
Yeah.
for Alibrandi.
Yes.
My son
Marchetta.
did looking for Alibrandi. He's now 40 for the HSC.
Yeah.
And my departed husband was Italian background. My mother-in-law also read the novel. When my son did it, they'd sit together and cry. And meeting her was here was just the most wonderful, wonderful experience. And when I told her about my son and my mother-in-law, she said, "That's why I wrote it." Thank you, everyone.
Do you mind if I say something?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm gonna crash this event. You know, I've come to every festival, and I want to give kudos. Nobody talks about this. Janet galvanized this community as far as the expatriates go. We didn't know each other. You'd have these little social pockets, like a game night between three couples or something, but there wasn't this community of expatriates, and you really found everybody and got them together. And so I thank you for that. And other communities of expats in Bali do not have that advantage.
I think that's called exploitation.
I think there might have been a question over here.
Yep.
You can read, yep.
When I talk to people in Australia about this festival, I focus on the program and the content of it and the way it connects to the issues of the day. And so, Janet, I'm wondering how you choose and develop and guide and push the program director into creating something that is so on point and connected to what people really want to hear about.
I don't know if Hannah is here. Hannah's the current head of
Can't
programming.
Gustra is here.
And she was last year too, and then she stepped back into the role this year.
It's an amazing mix, isn't it?
Well, yeah, as I've been saying over the weekend, Indonesia's in a grey zone for publishing. We don't have any international publishing houses here, so we're free to do what we like. We don't, like in Australia, they have to work with publishers, they have to have the current releases, etc. But for us, we can just sit around and think about what we want to hear, And some people have said the Writers' Festival is really more of a human rights festival, posing as a literature festival, which I think pretty well sums us up. And I think because we were born of the Bali bombings, we've always had a slightly different focus. So I'm always fascinated by the Palestine, Israel, the Middle East. I love all those discussions. Back in the day, we used to be really quite close to the Egyptian embassy and all those dudes, and I'll go back there after this festival and rekindle all those connections, because Indonesia used to be very close to Egypt. I just love people that write about issues or have a story to tell. Like even Adele, he's this amazing graphic artist, but he's actually a Cuban refugee, and everybody has an amazing story.
Yeah.
And we just find them, and I guess that's what happens when you look at Instagram 24/7. You find them all, like Fred Leone, who hopefully are coming to the closing tonight. Aboriginal guy, an amazing performer, and I don't even see them in Aussie Writers' Festivals. I have to see them here, and they're amazing. They're just all amazing. So I tend to go for amazing, and then luckily with Hannah, she loves amazing too, and we look for the unique ones, those with the story to tell that you won't see in other festivals probably, and we just throw them all together, and with a bunch of gorgeous Indonesians, and let the magic begin, as I always say.
Could I share one more story that was a highlight moment in 20 years of festivals, and it will never be repeated again? And that was a panel in which Made Wijaya, Mike White in another incarnation, Bali's most famous expat, was on the panel. He has an ego to match his enormous stature. And he was on a panel with Julia Surya Kusuma, who was a 6 foot tall Indonesian journalist from Jakarta Post. and tiny little Nuri Vatachi, a Sri Lankan
Do you remember
comic
him?
writer.
Do you remember Nuri Vatachi?
Nuri
Yeah.
is here.
And Made, on his role on the panel, was taking way too long with his responses, and he overtook the floor. The moderator was doing her best to shut him up and get on with the
Forgot
other
about that.
people. But without any signal that was noticeable to us, the audience, Nuri Vatachi, he swept all that stuff off the low-lying coffee table there, grabbed 6-foot Julia, flung her on the table, leapt on top of her, and had simulated fully clothed sex in front of the entire audience. It shut Made up. And the rest of us just
We were
in
just
shock until we burst out laughing. I was at that session. Were you there?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. It was the best single moment of 20 years of festival.
The very hot issue on that time.
On that note, I think we will wrap it up. I want you all to keep supporting the festival. Tell your friends, come back next year, because without you, there is no festival. There could be the most extraordinary writers here, but it's not going to continue without ongoing support. And you can never take that for granted. Please don't ever take this festival for granted, or any festival you attend, because we know behind the scenes how tenuous it can be. And we obviously want to keep being able to be here. So I just want to thank Janet. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for your leadership.
And thank you to the team.
Thank you to the team.
Yep. And also, if you want to support our ongoing efforts, you can become festival friends. You can look up on the website, and we love cash.
If the festival wants to keep people of my age still coming after 20 years, you have to put in some handrails on the stone steps.
You have to talk to my husband. And also, I think the anthology is on sale.
Yeah, so this year anthology is the selection of
please, it's
best
actually-
of the best from 2008 to last year.
You must buy it. I was trying to get
Yes.
some copies here, but each year we do the anthology, and this year it was a collection of some of our best works
Yes, from 2008.
from 2008. So it's a really nice cross section, some really cute stories, and Toni did a lot of those translations. And we have Pam Allen over here. She's one of our champion translators as well, so she's in there. And
Get the panel to look here. I'm going to grab a photo.
okay.
Thank you everyone for coming to our last main session in Indus, and
Thank
will be
you.
the closing session
We
in
take-
this venue. And do not forget your belongings, as we will have to clear out the area. And after this, we will still have a film screening and also closing party at the Blanco Renaissance Museum. So please do join us there. And yeah, I think that's all. And please, one more round of applause for our amazing speakers and moderator. Thank you, and see you tonight or see you in the next festival. Thank you.